I think in the idea of like why you should be writing a book is because it comes with all this already perceived knowledge of a book, right? Like you get to transfer that on to you.
Mhm.
So people are like, oh my gosh, like I went to school, I had books. I went to college, I had books. My mentors recommending books. The relationship with books is already positive. And if you're starting off brand new, there's nothing better than to start it with like the game kind of rigged in your favor. Like it's almost like a person giving you a warm introduction.
You're listening to the Black to Business Podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. Hey there, and welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. I am your host, Monique T. Marshall. I think one of the hardest parts of entrepreneurship is getting people to recognize your value without you having to constantly prove it. You may know the work, you do get results, but too often you're still questioned, you're still overlooked, or asked to give away your expertise for free. And for many of us as Black entrepreneurs, this struggle is so familiar. Being in the room, yet not being fully respected for what we bring. That's why finding ways to establish credibility early is so important. And one of the most powerful ways to do that is by writing a book. Now, I want you to know that a book is more than just pages and it's more than just chapters. In today's conversation, we're going to understand that it's a way to show your expertise instead of only telling it. It's an extended resume that speaks for you in rooms that you haven't even entered yet. It's proof that your voice, your perspective, and your solutions matter. And the best part is, you don't have to be the perfect writer or have decades of experience to get started. You just need clarity on your message and also the courage to package what you already know. To help us break this down, I'm joined by Geo Derice, international speaker, entrepreneur, and best-selling author of The Thirst is Real. So early in Geo's journey, he faced the same challenges, being undervalued, overlooked, underpaid for his work. But writing a book completely changed the way people saw him, and it opened doors to opportunities he couldn't access before. Now, through his program, First Book Done, he's helped more than 100 entrepreneurs self-publish their books and leverage them as tools for business growth. In today's conversation, Geo is going to walk you through step by step on how to choose the right book idea, how to actually finish your first draft, and how to use your book as a tool for credibility, authority, and also revenue. Now, I want to give you the heads up that this is a masterclass conversation. Like, you might want to take out your notes because I was actually learning this entire conversation. So you're going to learn a lot. So let's get into it. Geo, welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I can't wait.
Yes, I'm excited as well because we are talking all about how to write your first book to build your credibility and authority. I know a lot of people are really going to love this because it's just the thing to do. And we have a lot of phenomenal listeners who are thinking about how do we package the work that we're doing into a credible product like a book that'll last a long time. So,
Hmm.
we have just a guy for you. But before we get into that, if you could just share a little bit about your background, what is it that you do and how did you get here?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I don't know how. Like, sometimes I look back, I say, "How did I get here?" Too, because I
Right.
was the person who hated books growing up. So I was like, "Oh, now I make a living around books," and I'm like, "This
Mm-hmm.
is only God." But but I started off as a motivational speaker, and that was where the crux of it happened for me. Was wanting to inspire young people, let them know what their possibilities were, help them dream. And as I was doing that, I started to stumble upon like friction. Like people weren't giving me the opportunities. They wanted me to do like, I felt like community service. It's almost like, hey, you could come speak here. And then the minute you mention budget, they just start feeling funny. And I'm like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not running for office. Like, I need money to pay my bills. I don't need votes. So as I was in that situation, I'm like, listen, I got to figure out something. Like, who is the person or people who have made this work, where they're pouring into young people, but they're being fed, financially as well.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone I studied, they had one common thing that I didn't have, and they all were authors of books. And so I was like, man, success leaves clues, like Tony Robbins says. And I'm like, I gotta write a book. I gotta write a book. So I started going online, looking all over the place, trying to see what resources I could find to help me write it. And I wrote one. I wrote a book with the resources that I found. And the perception of how I showed up or how people saw me was changed completely, like overnight, like abracadabra,
Mm-hmm.
like this. And they were like,
Wow.
"Oh, come here. What? Let me see what we have in the budget." And I'm like, I didn't even tell you nothing other than my addition. I just added another thing to my title, and all of a sudden, people were acting brand new. And that's when I really discovered the power of books.
Mm. I love that. And so you are the bestseller of The Thirst is Real. So talk
Mhm.
about this experience in writing your book and kind of how it gave you that credibility. You talk about how it just got you into other rooms as well, but more so about the experience behind it and what it's about.
Yeah, I think most of the time the books is something you already have been putting out there in some way, shape, or
Mhm.
form. Like you said earlier, it's about packaging. And so, how do I package the information, the experiences I've created in a way that is receptive to people and people respect books? I don't like, no matter what you do, I've never seen someone throw a book away. I live in a nice building and I've seen them throw away toys. I've seen them throw away beds. I've seen them throw away a lot of stuff, but the books always stand on the bench and is like,
It's
take
true.
these, like they don't put it in the garbage. And so, I see the value of it. And for me, it was just taking these experiences, these conversations that I was having live with the people that I was looking to inspire, and then packaging it in a book in some kind of sequential order that helped them meet them where they're at, but also take
Mhm.
them to where they would like to go. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to books is like you want to almost think of yourself as like a bus driver or a guide, and where are you transporting the reader to? Especially if you're talking about business. If you're talking about fantasy and all this stuff, that's almost like entertainment distraction. I'm not about distraction and entertainment per se. I'm about liberation. How do I
Mhm.
give you freedom and access to be able to pursue whatever it is that you're looking for? So those are really the books that I'm looking at. And, when I wrote The Thirst is Real, it was really at a time where I saw a lot of people casually pursuing their dreams, but not like obsessively pursuing them. It was like, it would be nice if. And I was letting them know, if that's the energy you have, the minute life punches you in the face, there's no way you're going to be able to make that dream become a reality. So there was this whole idea at the time of people were saying you were thirsty, but it was used as like a dating term. Like, right, like
Mhm.
like this person's like thirsty, they fiending, they all over you kind of thing. And I'm like, I know we say that jokingly or however we want to describe it in a relationship, but if your dreams don't feel that kind of energy, they're not going to come true. So I kind of used that to meet my audience where they were at because it was for teenagers. And I just basically took a term that they use in their normal vocabulary and gave it a new definition.
Oh, that's so good. That is really good. I love that. The thirst is real. And I love that you use that analogy of taking the bus, like that bus driver, and being the guide, because it all makes sense. And I just want to tell you all, Gio told me before we got on recording, like, you got to write your book. And I'm like, you
Yeah.
trying to speed me up. So so I think like this is a conversation for me as well. I'm going to be learning along with the audience. And I want to start with laying the foundation of why a book matters for entrepreneurs. So you talk about your experience and you seeing this work, you seeing the impact of this. So why is writing a book such a powerful way for entrepreneurs to start to build that credibility and also authority?
Great question. The biggest thing is when you're talking about entrepreneurship, the first thing that you're going to be asked is, "Tell me what do you do?" Right?
Right.
And so we often start the conversation in telling. So I tell you what I do. I tell you who I serve. I tell. The problem is people don't see what you're telling them. So the book
Mm.
is now an opportunity to package the showing. Right? It's like a big show and tell thing,
Right.
but we just be staying on the tell. We stay on tell until they're blue in the face. Like, do you see it now? And it's like, no, because you ain't never shown it to me. You
Mhm.
just kept telling me what you
Mhm.
do, but show me those examples. So when I think of a book, I think of it as it's an opportunity to take that 1 to 2 page resume and stretch it across 100 pages, 200 pages, and show them the different varieties, address their objections, show them future pacing of what their life could look like.
Right.
You now have room to go and land this big plane that you want this business to be. Where I think telling a lot of people could do that, but I don't feel like people can demonstrate. Like I want you to, I call it the QVC method.
Mm.
Like QVC be having products all the time. But when people want to go crazy about the product, the beauty of QVC is I saw the product in action. So when I see that sneaker cleaner that makes my white sneakers automatically look brand new, you can't tell me, hey, this thing, if you scrub it, it's gonna make your sneakers white. Nah, show me
Mm.
that it does that. And a book, I feel like when it's written correctly, it shows people why you are valuable versus you going and affirmation yourself. I'm valuable. I'm worth it. Like, that's cool. Show me from a third party perspective. Show me through examples. Show me through case
Mhm.
studies your value so that I can clearly see it. And then what happens is you don't have to oversell because once the people are able to see it clearly, they're already sold. So you
Mhm.
just have to go and just say, what do you want to do next? And that's the easiest form of a sales pitch is, what do you want to do now? Versus you having to beg them.
Mm. Okay, I wasn't writing notes. I was just brainstorming my book because that's the whole conversation right there. I am sold. I love that. I was writing notes though. Again, I'm learning with you all. So love that.
That's
And
good.
so Gio, we have a lot of people who are just starting out in their journey as well as those who are further along. So, for somebody who is just starting out, how would you say that this will help them to stand out in their industry? Because people are like, okay, you just got here.
Yeah, no, and the thing is when you just got here, without people necessarily using these business terms that maybe you and I are familiar with, where, hey, tell me what your USP is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But people are saying that without using the word USP. Like,
Right.
tell me why you're different. Tell me why I should care about you. You brand new to the scene. Why
Mm-hmm.
you over here making noise for? Like, am I supposed to be listening to you? So I think in the idea of like why you should be writing a book is because it comes with all this already perceived knowledge of a book, right? Like you get to transfer that onto you.
Mm-hmm.
So people are like, oh my gosh, like I went to school, I had books. I went to college, I had books. My mentors recommending books. The relationship with books is already positive. And if you're starting off brand new, there's nothing better than to start it with like the game kind of rigged in your favor. Like it's almost like a person giving you a warm introduction where they say, hey, it doesn't matter who you know, it matters like it doesn't matter what you know, it matters who you know. And so if Barack Obama says Geo's good, I'm good,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you don't
Good.
have to know no background. He vouched for you. And I
Right.
think when it comes with a book, what it does is it makes a person say, you know what, this person can't be brand new. They
Mm-hmm.
can't. Like, how did they write a whole book and they brand new? So what they do, and this is so amazing, when you write a book and you're new to the scene, the other person feels late, not you. Let
Mm.
me say this again.
Say that
When you
again.
come up with, let me when you come up with a book and you show up in the scene, they go, "Yo, why? Who in my network been sleeping and then tell me about this? I'm supposed to have the pulse. Like you, like that's a fireable offense. Some assistants getting in trouble because
Mm-hmm.
that person didn't know you existed, right?
Mm.
So that energy, think about what that does for the person who's starting out and thinking I'm an imposter. That's
Mm-hmm.
thinking, no one wants to hear me. I gotta whisper. They are lions, but they're purring and acting like cats, right? Little cats. And I'm like, yo, if when I come up with a book, I literally just posted this on Facebook just now. When someone is introduced, I'm introduced to somebody and they say he's an author, the other person is already, their ears are warm. They're
Right.
like, I want to hear what you got to say.
Mm-hmm.
Never met me before. They just heard, he wrote a book. Who writes a book and has nothing to say?
What? All the quotes. All the quotes. Drop the mic. Okay.
So
Drop
that's
the
the
mic.
biggest thing is I want to give these new entrepreneurs who are showing up,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been that person. Like I've
Right.
been the person who's gone to a networking event or the gala that has all the decision makers in the room and just hugged the wall like I was a piece of paint. Like I
Mm-hmm.
just was right, like I'm just sitting there like man, it's just super awkward. But when you write a book, you walk in the room knowing less than 1% of me is in here. People like me off rip. So you could let people, all of a sudden when they're, hey, I'm the CEO of this, I run this nonprofit. I wrote a book. And immediately the interest of, you did? What is it about? That energy makes you feel better when someone's leaning into the conversation versus somebody leaning back like your breath stink or something and saying like, like, no, 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 I don't know you. Like, no, that's what I want to help people with is let's get into the car warmed up
Mm-hmm.
versus you having to go ahead and feel super cold throughout the whole journey
Yeah.
of you being an entrepreneur.
That is so good. So with this, with you've helped over 100 people
Hmm.
self-publish their own books.
Yeah.
So you know the jail. What do you think are the common misconceptions that people have about writing their first book?
The common misconceptions. One of the biggest ones is they think they have to write the book. That's one of the biggest ones.
Oh, we're going to talk
Because
about
a
that.
lot of people come out and say, "Yeah, Gio, listen, if you saw my when I was a kid, I used to play this game called Typing Tutor, and it would tell you
Mm-hmm.
how many words you wrote per minute." A lot of people feel like, listen, me and these keys don't go together. I have no
Mm-hmm.
business writing a book. If you saw my essays back in high school or college, they weren't that good. And so they think that the reality is I can't write a book because of my lack of skill and competence in writing. And I think the biggest misconception we have is we don't realize that the book is just a conversation in written form. So the writing is the format. The essence of what you're doing, though, is conversation. So if you don't have a problem talking, and this is where I work with a lot of authors, I tell them, let's remove the constraint of you having to type and just record yourself speaking.
Mm,
Because they call it writer's block. They don't call it speaker's block. So a lot of people, they have no problem speaking it. So let's remove the constraint, go and record yourself talking about the book,
mm-hmm.
and then transcribe it. And now all of a sudden, that cursor that's been bullying you, saying, "Hey, oh yeah, I know you put it on the calendar that you're gonna write today, but we're gonna have the same document and gonna look just like this when you're done because you're gonna be overwhelmed, right?" Like you don't have that no more. And I tell people all the time, people like correcting stuff than writing from scratch. So if I gave you a whole document, Monique, and I said, here's your book, you'd be like, that's not it, Gio. I would fix this. I would fix this.
Mm-hmm.
You already jumping in the middle of it. But if I tell you, here's a document, go write your book, you're like, um, where do I start? You're stuck already. So I
Right.
tell people, go and lean into what's naturally it's something you already do. Just have a conversation, record it, and then change it up. And I think you hear like Kim Kardashian's an author. Amarion is an author. You think
Oh, what?
Amarion, where my ice box used to be, he's sitting down on Google
Yes.
Docs writing books? Come on, people, let's stop it.
Yeah, right.
But he definitely probably had a conversation with someone who was sitting there typing it,
Yeah.
right? But it's still, don't forget it. You're an author, not a writer per
Mm.
se. And a lot of people think writer is a prerequisite to being an author, and it's not.
Mm. So there's a difference, writer and author.
Yeah, author. Listen, when my wife gave birth to our child, we are the parents. The doctor didn't become the parent because they
Mm-hmm.
delivered the child, right?
Mm.
Like yes, you help push the baby out, but I'm the parent.
Mm-hmm.
So as the author, don't get it misconstrued that just because I didn't write every single word, I'm not the author. That would be
Right.
like someone saying, that's not your child. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right.
That's my DNA. Like, and so when you're speaking it out, that's your DNA. That's
Mm-hmm.
you. So I just try to get people to just get some momentum. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions that people have. And then I think the other one I would say is people try to like sound Like they think that you got to be perfect. So one of the
Mm-hmm.
misconceptions is Monique might say something like, "Yo, Gia, listen, when I get like a Webby award for the podcast, or some type of award from the president, when I get all these accolades, then I am now qualified to
Mm-hmm.
write the book, right?" So there's some level of like a perfect image that we think we need
Right.
to have. And here's the misconception we have: if you write a perfect book, what you don't realize you're doing is you're literally writing yourself out of the market, because everyone you're writing for is imperfect. So when someone says the person who writes the perfect book, their reviews normally says this person thinks their crap don't stink, this person's
Mm-hmm.
not relatable. So your imperfection creates connection. The minute you think I need all these accolades to get there, you're literally deleting your ability to connect. So you don't have to have all these accolades. And to be honest, Monique is like, we were talking before we were recording, and you're like, you're approaching at the time 300 episodes. I don't know when people are gonna hear this, right? But like you're at this time, you're approaching 300 episodes, which is
Yes.
amazing because most people after 3 episodes, they just go exit left.
Thank you.
So you've done that like 90x. So good job, right?
Thank you.
But if you think about this idea of the podcast and what we were talking about earlier, I'm losing my train of thought. Like, yeah, so the perfection aspect of it, right? Like, okay, I gotta do this, I gotta have this, I gotta do like it's not necessary. Like for real, like, you can get started right now. Oh, here's what I was gonna say. It came back. Someone who's never done a podcast is looking at your 270 something episodes as a as like the holy grail. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're at penthouse level. They're not even in the building. But what we do is we always compare ourselves up. So we go, I got 270 episodes, but I ain't got 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we always downplay what we've already done. And so I tell people all the time, don't just look up. That's good for ask for inspiration, but also look who you need to reach back for
Right.
to help them get to where you are, because where you are is someone else's goal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think a lot of people are like, oh, I can't write a book until I get here. I'm like, if you graduated college, the high school kid didn't graduate college. They still need to learn something from you. So there's always someone in the system of life or whatever that's not where you are, but you dismissing where you are as being a place someone desires is the reason why you won't write it until you get all these accolades. And there's always going to be, you're going to keep moving the line of
Mm-hmm.
success, as you go up.
That is so good. I mean, it makes it plain and simple as day. With that, of course, now we're encouraged to, we have no excuse. Let's write the book. So now how do we get started? I want to talk about some of the first steps. So what are the first step that someone, what are the very first steps that someone should take if they decide and when they decide to write their first book?
There's three questions you need to answer. I call it the three W's. You need
Mm-hmm.
to know who you're writing the book for.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know what is the book about, like what are you actually going to be telling them. And then the last one is a why, but it's twofold. Why is this book necessary right now? And why are you the right person to bring it to light?
Mm.
So let's break it down into just because I want to give people practical stuff. The reason why the who is so important is when you are clear on who you're writing for, half of the what you write is already predetermined. So a lot of people, they skip the who. So they go, you know what? I'm going to make these amazing burgers, beef burgers, and I'm going to start a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't go and do the homework to say, okay, well, the area I'm in, they don't have no people, they have a bunch of vegetarians, and you don't take into account who is this thing for, right? So when I know, oh, I'm writing a book for the younger a younger crowd, I already know the book can't be 200 pages.
Yeah.
Like some of the stuff that we're like, how long is my book should be? Who is it for? Because if you're writing it to doctors, it might have to be 300 pages because they love research. They
Right.
love to make sure the thing has been cross examined, everything, right? So the who tells me the method,
Mm-hmm.
the of the book. What am I supposed to say? Like I had one client, his name is Dr. Carl Stokes. He wrote a book for Black fathers. It was called Reclaiming Your Visibility, right? And when he wrote it, He said, Geo, I'm writing this to Black fathers who came up in the 80s. I said, okay, you know the who. Now, what that did for him is he used all the references of hip hop during the
Mm-hmm.
80s to help build connection. So now when the Black fathers was reading it, they were like, yo, like the metaphors was used from Rockin' and
Right.
KRS-One and Run DMC. That when you are able to write on that level, the reader goes, wow, I feel well taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I feel seen. This person went to great lengths to connect with me. You can't get there if you had no clue who you were writing to. So it's so important for you to know who's my ideal reader. Who is the person that I'm trying to communicate to? Because it's going to tell you what you need to say. Then when you start to get to the what, you want to focus on, and this is where a lot of people drop the ball. When they say what, they say a lot of stuff, but they don't actually seed that they're a business.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is someone reads your book, says, oh, I know about you. But then they don't get to the next step, which is I want a client. Like I want contracts. I want bills, like money. And so what happens is when you're writing the what, you want to go and put case studies, success stories, um, scenarios. When you put those in place, so here's an example. Monique would write her book and she might say something like startups and her internship program. I want you to go and say back in 2024 when I first did my first spring internship program, we met some amazing young people who felt like blah blah blah. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the web design intern and the production intern. And here's what they said they felt through this internship experience. And now you saying this, and I'm like, oh, she got some skin in the game. She's not telling
Mm-hmm.
me go get interns if you're running a startup. She did it, and she's telling me what their experience was. And as I'm downloading these lessons of what the interns said to describe their experience with Monique and the environment that she created, I am now saying, you know what? Instead of me trying to figure this out, maybe I should just hire Monique to do a consultation to help me build my internship program. Instead of me trying to come from scratch, she already did it. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that people don't do is they don't put that experience in the book.
Right.
They expect the person to just say, yo, Monique, help me. And here's the thing. I don't know about you. I'm sure you're busy. Help me is a very loaded question that I can't answer. But if you tell me, hey, do you have a recommendation for interns? Like we
Mm-hmm.
talked about right before this podcast, and you're like,
Yes.
Gio, I'll send you one. That's easy. But that's because there was some clarity there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the important thing. You want to put your business in it, seed it. Hey, when I did the speaking engagement at my alma mater, Howard, here's what I talked about. Oh, snap, she does speaking engagements. Like you want to
Mm-hmm.
start to see that in your presentation. And then the last question was the why. Why is this important? Is so important, no pun intended, because it shows them that the value is time sensitive. Like right
Right.
now, this is the lay of the land. The government this, contracts are being lost. Oh man, I better learn this stuff right now. So it gives them an incentive to engage.
Mm-hmm.
The why you part of the question is to eliminate the imposter syndrome. I want you to get to a place where you're like, I was set apart for a time such as this got my name written in it. Yes, somebody else could have written it, but my unique collection of experiences is the reason why I am called to communicate this message to
Mm-hmm.
this audience. When you get clear on that, you now go from why me to why not me. And that's a different energy. Like I can tell when someone writes from a place of calling versus
Mm-hmm.
from a place of chasing a call. Those are two different types of books. The energy is different. One says, I want to work with you. The other one says, I feel anxiety and I feel like there's some uncertainty in this thing and I don't want to download someone else's uncertainty.
Mm. That's so good. That is so good. I mean, I feel like this is like a lesson in a. This is why we do this because this is like a workshop in a podcast, and I love it. So, Geo, a lot of people have a lot of ideas. Of course, we're looking at living in this multi hyphenate economy society.
Yes.
And so, how do you help someone decide or figure out? I got a lot of book ideas. What should be the first one?
I love this question because most people, that's the problem. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's like saying, which kid do you love the most?
Mm-hmm.
All of them, and you can't write all of them at the same time. So the way I make the decision on, and here's the thing I'll tell people: first and foremost, there's no rule that you can't write more than one book. So let's just start there. Because a lot of
Right.
people say, "Well, I got to put all of this in one thing," and then before you know it, you got the botanical encyclopedia, and no one want to read it.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell people like, listen, it's okay to write more than one book. The question we have to decide is which thing we need to release first that will start the domino effect of ultimately what we're trying to create. Also, understanding that most people have the intent to write a book and never finish. I would rather the person take the lowest hanging fruit, the one that you have the most clarity about, and not clarity on just what to say, but clarity on knowing who this book needs to go to
Mm-hmm.
unlock the potential of what it is the idea can do, is where I would lean into. So I've had people who are like, hey, I got five book ideas. And I'm like, well, which one could you write right? Like if I told you right now, one of my mentors
Mm-hmm.
used to tell me this. He called this the airplane test. If you are in the airport and someone roll up to you at the gate and they ask you, hey, I need you to go in this speech that is in this city. The speaker got sick. We need you to come and speak on any topic that you know about for 30 minutes. We'll pay you, but you have to get on the plane right now. And once you land, you got to deliver the speech. What is the thing that you're coming up with? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Or like, okay, I'm gonna go get the speaking engagement. What's the thing you're gonna talk about? That's probably the book you should write. The one that's like hanging, like you're like, yo, say less. Like,
Right.
what's the topic that you're like, listen, if that's the topic, I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna
Easy
crush it.
work.
Easy work. It should
Yeah.
because the work is already hard in and of itself.
Right.
So I don't need to go and add to it. Right. So I always say, like, listen, what's that thing that's like it's a layup? This
Mm-hmm.
is not about doing the cute stuff. It's a layup. There's some when someone has a headache, they just want Tylenol. I don't want no extra thing. Don't tell me all this fancy stuff. I got a headache. Give me the pill to get rid of it. So, what is that you know that people have a need to solve? And I think if it's rooted in the problem solving, you're gonna get a win early versus the person who's like, I've always dreamed of writing this book, but they never thought about it from the perspective of the reader. And so they don't write something that's a solution to someone's problem. And then they realize, dang, people don't want this. And it's like, well, people didn't want like people want their problem solved. That's what they want more than anything else. You didn't write something that does that. So now it's gonna be a climb for you to go and sell this stuff. Versus I want people to like write something that feels like you're going downhill. Everyone runs fast downhill. Even the slowest person is
Mm.
fast going down because gravity's working with you to
Mm.
pull you. And I want people to do the same thing with books. Like, what is that for you? And then you'll learn the process too. You'll be
Right.
like, oh, I know the editor. I know how long it takes. And a lot of the people who don't finish books is because there's so many points of the journey that you feel incompetent that you don't want to keep staying there. So you leave. Man, I'm
Mm-hmm.
done. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. You say that long enough, you're gonna say, I either get off this train or I'm gonna feel dumb by the time I get to the end of this to wherever it's taking me. So people
Right.
just exit because they don't feel good about that uncertainty, that uncomfortable feeling of I don't know. So I tell you, what do you know? Write on what you know, but make sure it's to solve somebody's problem. Because when I just heard in my head, someone's like, "Well, I know myself," and they're gonna write about themselves, and no one want to write. No, no one wants to read about you. Even the memoirs, where people be like, "Hey, well, I want to write a memoir." If I can't find myself in your story, I could care less. That's a
Mm-hmm.
diary. Like that's a diary at that point. And until you tell me, because people are like, yo, man, I want to write a book about me. I want to be the star. The reader wants to be the star. You could be a supporting actress or actor, but we want to be the star. I don't watch YouTube videos to go and say, hey, look how Nikki Sanders does social media. I don't care how she does social media. I want to be good at social media. Now,
Right.
her story can inspire me, but
Right.
I don't want to be like, well, you know what? I'm going to write a book report about how Nikki did social media. Like, I don't want to write a book report about her. I want to live the success myself.
That is so good. I mean, and that brings me to my next question because how do you, what advice do you give to someone to choose between writing that personal story, that how to guide, or that thought leadership book?
I would say, let's start with what's the purpose
Mm-hmm.
of what you're doing. Is it to make money? Because if it's to make money and you're not like Michelle Obama, don't write the personal story.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm gonna write this. Look, Michelle wrote a memoir. Yes, but she lived her life in the public eye, and a bunch of people want to know all the secrets. So they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna read her book. The average person, no one wants to read our memoir unless it's um packaged within a how-to guide. Story should be coloring in the picture, but the structure of the picture itself, black and white, should be a framework, a guide, how to, so that the person can feel inspired to go and write their own story. Like our
Mm-hmm.
story is just a part of the puzzle to go and help them go and write their story. And
Mm-hmm.
so I always tell people, if you want to make money, don't go with the personal route unless you already have a big following. And if you had a huge following, you probably should go do traditional publishing and leverage your following to get somebody to pay you in advance, so you don't have to necessarily worry as much about every single book sale. But for the average person, we need to go and write how-to guides, thought leadership books, because our book is supposed to be a leveraging point to get bigger things. It's not about the $20 book sale. It's
Mm-hmm.
about the $2,000 speaking engagement, the $10,000 speaking engagement, the six-figure contract that I'm partnering with the district or some kind of organization to do work for half a year. That's what we're using it for. The book is just a key card to get me in the room. A lot of people don't think about it that way. So they don't realize that you actually make more money giving your book away than it is by than selling it. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was like give it to the right person. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
the game changes. But like, oh man, I need to figure out how to sell my book. No, you don't. You need to figure out how to use this tool to get you to be seen a certain way so that you can get the bigger deals. Like I could care less about $20 book sales. When you tell me, Gio, here's a $20,000 contract, and I got it because you thought I was credible because I wrote a book that's available for sale for $20,
Yeah.
that I now just gifted it to you. And like, yo, you know what? The next board meeting, here's 10 copies of my book. Y'all all could go and circulate or whatever. And then at the end of the board meeting, they go, you know what? Who are we going to pick? The guy who wrote the book or this other person? And it's a six-figure contract. Those 10 books, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
$200 to get 100,000. I'll do that trade any day.
That is true. Oh, that's good. And so, how do you make sure that you structure your book so it's clear, valuable, and also engaging?
Um, I, I, I think the biggest thing I do is I try to have conversations with my ideal audience before I write it,
Mm-hmm.
so that I can know I already know what they think is already a hit.
Mm.
It's right. So I'm like, okay, hey, here's a story. And I do this all the time during when I go out with friends. When I'm eating, I'll drop a story in there and I'm like just reading the room. Yo, that was funny, Gio. Okay, okay. Keep that
Right.
in there. Right. And so I tell people all the time, like instead of like there's a quote, a pastor, his name was Robert Madu. He said, don't get feedback, get feed forward. And what he
Mm.
was saying was get feedback before the thing before the thing is a thing.
Yeah.
Feedback means the thing is finished and now you're telling me, hey, review it. I don't want reviews. I want to collaboratively build this together. So the way I know it's engaging is I tell people, like, let them vote. We live in a time where social media exists, where you could go and say, hey, I'm thinking about these three titles for a book. Which one y'all think is the hottest?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's this one. This one without a doubt. All right, cool. That's checked off.
Mm-hmm.
What's the thing I hate about this the most? I hate about this structure, the government this, the system is against us. Okay, cool. I know that the first part of the book is about to be systems and how to overcome them. Like we think that we gotta write in the dark.
Yeah.
I'm writing for you. If
Right.
I'm writing from you, if I'm a restaurant and I want to please you, I'm not going to give you food. What would you like?
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to eat? I'm like, oh, here you go. No, you're not gonna get that. The engagement not gonna be that high. Like my son just now, my wife was like, "Here's some eggs." He said, "I don't want eggs. I want pancake."
That you
And
know.
and the difference is we didn't ask them what to eat. Now I know
Right.
her rebuttal is I'm the parent. It can't be pancake every day. So
Mm,
there's a certain level of discernment we have to have. But honestly, when we're writing books that's supposed to build our business, the people are more than happy to share with you what's the problem. Go to Reddit, go on the Facebook groups, go and see all the places where you see, go on someone's social media page and see the
mm-hmm.
comments and see what the trolls are trolling about.
Yeah,
What
that
are
is
the
true.
complaints? Oh man, I hate this. Oh, you hate it? Well, I'm about to show you why you're gonna love it. Like it's just like you do this stuff, and so I think a lot of people just feel like I got to be a mind reader,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, you don't have to be a mind reader. You just have to reveal what my mind was already thinking, and if you can do that and enter the conversation I was already saying, so if at 12 o'clock at night I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying something, and you write a book or you write a post or whatever, and it says exactly what I said at 12, we're instantly we're an item. Like we go together. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's how I ended up buying $100 a month diapers subscription. They got me, Monique. They got me. It was the
They
middle of
got
the
you.
night,
Yes.
12:30, and I'm sitting here like I need sleep. I'm tired. I'm tired of this baby waking up. And they said two things. They got me. Number one, I think I'm bougie, so anytime you say some big brand, it gets my attention.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Mm-hmm.
was like this is the Rolls Royce of diapers. I said, oh shucks, Rolls Royce. Okay,
Got you.
okay. They got me with the Rolls Royce. And then they said, um, we would like to give you a night of sleep. I
Mm.
said, I said,
Sign
oh
me
my.
up.
I said, what you said? You gonna give me sleep? The price was irrelevant. I could have went and got Huggies for half the price. I was like, no, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, 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 no. Huggies didn't tell me I'm gonna sleep tonight.
Mm-hmm.
These people, they took the conversation in my head and they just put it on the ad. And I said, sign me up. We had it for a year and a half.
Wow, yeah.
A year and a half of, yep, take my $100 and ship me the box. Right. So,
Sleep.
and that's what we got to do for our readers. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you start saying the stuff that I'm thinking about, this climate, job security is a certain way, how to go and create your own job so that when they decide to go and cut, you can't, you like create a career that can't be cuttable.
Mm-hmm.
They go, oh snap, what does that mean? How do I do that? Like, then you're gonna be able to go and get that engaging stuff that people are talking about. But I feel like a lot of people, they go, I don't want you to know about my book until it comes out. And then when it comes out, you go and get all this work, you cook this nice spread, and then only for the people sitting at the table to say, we don't eat that.
Mm. That
You
hurts.
ain't never gonna write a book again. You're gonna be like, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
spent 2 years trying to write this book for these people, these ungrateful people. And they're like, you ain't talked to me about this book. You should have been asked me. I'd have told you we don't like collard greens. Like, I'd have told you that.
Mind you, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. That is so real.
Oh man, but that's the truth. I think that's that, and I think it's like stopping. It's we're working against ourselves instead of working
Mm-hmm.
with the thing, and I'm like, it's just like stop. Like it's hard, but not that hard. We just
Right.
make it harder.
That is so true. And I think that when you talk about this, of course, it's a business. It's like a business. And I think we are learning how to do business differently. I'm doing a lot of like business startup stuff now, and it's showing that might have worked back in the day because we didn't have access to resources, as many resources as we have now.
Mhm.
And people are not waiting around and they want to say like I gave you that feedback or I did this thing, and we don't have to figure it all out like you said, building in the dark or by ourselves. So I love that you lay that out as to speaking to people, because we need to do more of that, and that'll save us a whole lot of work in writing.
Yeah.
So speaking of writing, now let's get into the writing and the publishing part. So what are some strategies that can help entrepreneurs stay disciplined and actually finish that first draft?
I think starting like an outline is super important.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to have an outline so you can know what to say, how much to say, what are the gaps. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
see it a lot better when you have a map. A lot of people who just write, they just write, oh, I'm going to write for 2 hours a week. And then they end up with like 50,000 words. And then they try to put labels on it. And that's the equivalent of somebody going to the mall, buying all the stuff, and then getting a suitcase. Why don't you get the suitcase first, talk about
Right.
how much to fit in it, and then go buy stuff?
Mm-hmm.
We don't do it that way. So I think the outline gives us the framework to know, okay, here's the place I operate in. When we talk about discipline, discipline is structures, discipline, which I don't necessarily love all the time, but it allows us to know where we can play, right? Gives
Mm-hmm.
us the lines. And so for someone who's like, listen, I'm starting out, I don't know about like I want to write, where do I start? I think the actually knowing what points you want to hit is super important. You know, an introduction, a conclusion. The introduction is showing where are we?
Mm-hmm.
Where are we right now? Because people want to know that I want to know you know where to pick me up. That's why Uber is so cool. Because back in the days when we used to call a cab, they used to be like, oh, I don't see where you are. Now Uber, they give us exactly pin, like, oh, you right here, right? So
Right.
we're like, yeah, super cool. And then you also want to say, okay, well, here's what's going to happen in your life as a result of this book, right? So you want to future pace them and then give them some kind of like charge at the end. Now, the in between, you're trying to acknowledge in your outline what are like you asked earlier, what are the misconceptions? What is the thing they believe to be true that is actually not true that's holding them back? Once I debunk all these myths and misconceptions, which is basically the unlearning,
Mm-hmm.
then I can go and have a clean slate to learn. But when we don't do the unlearning and we give them something to learn, they are going to defend what they learned already, even if it's wrong,
Right.
right? And then you like, man, why don't you just do what I'm telling you? Well, because I got other stuff that people told me to do, and I got to do that first. So let me delete that, clean slate, and then collectively build and stack step by step. Here's where I would start with a clean slate. And then that's where you exercise and share what your framework is, because frameworks are what people are paying for, right?
Yes.
Like that's why Facebook will go and buy a WhatsApp instead of, even though they have the team and bandwidth to build it, they're like, yeah, you already built that. Let's just buy the thing and just have somebody
Right.
oversee it. The framework is almost the same way. If you could show me the framework, I'm like, oh, I already got it. I just got to execute.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do in the middle. So outlining is super, 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 super crucial if you want to get to a place where you're seeing progress, and not getting frustrated. But instead, before that, you gotta know. I call a book the best employee you could ever hire. That's what I call a book. It
Mm.
works 24/7. It doesn't ask for days off. It doesn't call in sick. Like, it's the best employee. It sells you when you're not in the room. And I think the biggest problem is it's a great employee, but the employee would be frustrated if the employer never said what the actual job description is.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to know before you even write your book, what job does this book have? What door am I asking it to open for me? Which room do I want it to heat it up a little bit so that when I walk in the room, it's hey Geo versus who's that?
Right.
Like you got to give your book a job, and then when you know its job, then you now know, oh snap, okay, the job is you got to get Monique from New York to California in 5 hours. That's easily going to automatically say plane. That's it. Like it's an
Mm-hmm.
easy answer. But if I don't know the task at hand, I'll go and have Monique on a train, and she's gonna be late for the speaking engagement that was supposed to be in 5 hours. So
Yes.
it's important to know what's the job. Then the job itself will help you to go and say, okay, this is the destination. The outline is turn by turn directions. But if you don't enter the destination into the GPS will look insignificant to you. We
Mm-hmm.
have to determine where we're trying to go. So, for example, like I wrote a book called "The Book I Wish I Had," and I
Yes.
wrote that book because I was struggling. I was like, man, you know who I really want to speak to? I want to speak to high school seniors. Why? Because every year they become new. So I don't get dated where it's like, hey, we heard you already. No, you didn't. Hopefully you
Mm-hmm.
graduated, and and the next seniors comes in and hears the same message. But the problem I was having was, why would you hire me to speak to high school seniors from somebody else? Like, what makes me different? So I said, okay, let me write a book just for them so that people say, Who wrote a book for high school seniors? Oh, only him. He wrote
Mm-hmm.
the book about it, right? So I wrote it from the perspective, and there's a lot of books that says, here's how to do college. I did the book I wish I had from the perspective of, I wish I knew this before I left to go to my
Mm-hmm.
next phase. And what I did, so to speak about connection, I collaborated with an 18-year-old to write the book
Wow.
because I was not 18 anymore. And so I
Mm-hmm.
knew that was a blind spot where, yo, Gio, your 18 is not today's 18. Like my 18, it was like, whatever. We had beepers and stuff. Now they're like, yo, someone's talking about the fact that my head is too big on social media and it's never getting deleted. Like it's a whole different time. So by having this 18-year-old give a fresh perspective and us collaborate, I knew that the book would be relevant. And I also knew it would be timely. And it's gotten me opportunities where I'm like, hey, Gio, come speak for $3,000 and we'll buy 150 copies of the book because we have 150 seniors. And I'm like, oh, snap. So I literally got my speaking engagement fee in books and I got the speaking engagement fee
Right.
at the same time.
Chess.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
That is
Chess.
chess. Love that.
100%.
That is so good. And then, so now, once you've written that draft, let's go into how do you approach the editing process to make sure that it's that professional quality?
Yeah, don't do it yourself.
Mm,
That's the part no one wants to hear. Yeah, Gio, I could edit it. Like, Microsoft Word told me all these
oh,
squiggly lines that I need to go and do this stuff. And by the way, I tell people most of the time when they write, turn off the corrections when you're writing because you'll just keep writing and editing. And before you
that's
know it, you've
good.
written the same sentence 20 times. And you,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the week, is like, I didn't write anything. Yeah, but you fixed the sentence 20 times. So turn it off when you're writing your first ugly, ugly draft. Then when I go to the editing process, I hire somebody because I'm always too sensitive. I don't want to do the cutting.
Right.
I think everything is, I already did it. So I'm like, everything got to stay. The editor
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have that affinity to the material. So they're going to say, Gio, this is a blind spot. This is overdone. This is whatever. So I would say hire an editor. Like it's not professional for a doctor to have himself as a patient. There's a quote that says, if a doctor has himself as a patient, he has a fool for a doctor.
Mm.
Right. So you can't do that. I know it's cool in the pandemic and stuff. We started cutting our own hair and everybody was doing their own stuff because everything was shut down. But no matter how much I learned how to cut my hair, it was never as good as a professional. So when you go to your editing, that's not where you want to go cheap. You do not want to go cheap with your editor. You do not want to go cheap with your book cover. They say that houses are judged by the front lawn
Mm.
before they even get into the house. Your cover of your book is the same way. And I know we don't supposed to judge people, judge a book by its cover. That's with people, but in books, we do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make sure your book is cover is very professional. And the editing is professional because here's the thing. I specialize in self-publishing. The number one goal we have in self-publishing is the game we want to play is I want you to guess if you know it's self-published or not.
How do
Like
you
the
know
book
the
should,
difference? Like, what is the
I know
difference
that
between self-published and traditional publishing?
so when I'm holding the book, there's certain styles and stuff that the traditional publishers use in terms of design, where the author bios are, the description,
Mm-hmm.
all of those elements. It's almost like copy and paste in the traditional world, but self-publishing, there's no rules. So I'll see
Mm-hmm.
somebody who's like, I don't have my picture on the back cover, or the font of the back cover is like size 21. And I'm like, this is not professional. Like, so I always like I say, listen, we have to model traditional in terms of all the elements. What are the wording? What's the spacing like? What's the colors, right? Like the busyness of it. And then when we do it in that professional light, when people come and this is how I know you're successful in self-publishing. When they ask you, what's the name of your publisher? Because they never thought it was you.
Mm.
That's how I know we hit the mark. If I don't hear, who is your publisher? We failed because we didn't knock it out of the park to the point where you couldn't tell.
Good tell.
Right. And so that's number one. And you can't get that without having a professional editor, a professional book cover designer,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then the formatting of it, like the interior layout needs to be professional too. So you don't want to have your book in double space and say, hey, my book is 300 pages. I'm going to look at them like I could have wrote a book in between the lines of your
Mm-hmm.
your stuff because of how unprofessional it looks. That's the biggest thing is you want it to look professional, and the only way for it to look professional is having a professional look at it because they've seen it so many times. They know it in their sleep. They know, okay, font 11 or 12, okay, line spacing 1.0 to 1.2. Like they know it off the top of their top of their head. And that's what we want. So that way the people don't look at us and say, this feels weird. Like when they hold it in their
Mm-hmm.
hand, they're like, this feels like I could have got this at the doctor's office. This a pamphlet? What's this? I don't want people to do that with your book, especially if you spend so much time to work on it.
That's so true. So how do you then so realistically, what is the timeline for getting your first book done without feeling overwhelmed?
I think it's fair if you did everything that we talked about in this call, in this podcast recording. I think it's fair to say 6 to 9 months you could get it done.
Okay.
But you gotta have clarity and know what's the purpose. Like when you know what it's gonna do for you, you don't waste time because you're like, it doesn't get me what I want until it's finished. But if I don't know what it's supposed to get me, I could prolong it forever because I don't necessarily know what's the cost of not having it.
Right.
So I think 6 to 9 months. I've seen people get it done in 30 days while writing a dissertation
Wow.
and being a parent of two and being a professor. But that person, when I say crystal clear, Monique, I'm talking about like their clarity on the book was like going in the Caribbean waters and seeing your toes and seeing the starfish right next to it. Like you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I see my feet. Like they were so clear on, and they knew, like they were messing around with this for so long that when I said go, 30 days later it was finished.
Mm.
But normal, I would say give yourself 6 to 9 months. I've seen people most of the time with clarity, it's really 3 to 6 months to get
That's
it done.
good. And Gio, what do you think the role of AI is going to be in this process or how
Oh
it's
my
affecting?
goodness. I love that question. So I think you gotta use it for what it's for. So I love AI from the perspective of giving me the blind spots that I normally don't see myself. Right. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not writing for me. What it's doing is adding on additional perspectives that maybe I was blind to. I'm also asking it to help me envision what this book could do. So I don't necessarily use it to write the book. I use it to go and do everything outside of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like who am I supposed to build relationships with in the media? It'll tell me here's the top 25 podcasts that has your ideal audience. Okay, cool. I'll use it to go and say maybe, hey, here's the podcast. These are the transcripts of three episodes. Give me a read on that host so that when I make my pitch, it's not whack, right? So, for example, I love when I got the request to do the interview here, and they're like, "Hey, have a good time at your last orientation session at St. Peter's." I said, "Man, you know what? Shucks, sold. I'm doing the podcast, even with two kids." You know, and right? Like, I'm like, I gotta do it, but it was like it was 7 words, but showed me I know you.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing St. Peter's orientation finale. I'm like,
Shout out to
how
the
you,
team.
how you know that? So, like, what? Like, so I love that. And then, and again, but that goes back to what you were saying earlier. How do I know it's professional? So
Mm-hmm.
I use the AI to make sure everything looks professional, consistent, cohesive, brainstorming what that would look like, right? So I use it more for that. And then again, like I said, I also use it to give me feedback. I say, be brutally honest.
Mm-hmm.
Does this chapter sound like it hit the mark? And it would say, no, you missed the mark. It was redundant. It was this. And most of the time it's right. Like it's reading the stuff and it's like, you used that same word 7 times. Like use something else. And then I'll go back and fix it. But I'm not saying, hey, I need to write a chapter on how to write my first book. Write it for me. Like absolutely not. I'm writing it. Again, AI, I almost look at it like it's assisting.
Yeah.
It's assisting. It's not supposed. It's a supplement, right? So it's not a main ingredient. Like you don't go and say, "Hey, you know what? I took a bunch of vitamin C pills. I'm good. Never going to catch a cold." You better eat that orange.
Right.
So it's if you use it for what it's supposed to be, which is not the main thing, because then it becomes its book versus yours. And you use it as a support to help you do everything else. This is where
Mm-hmm.
self-publishing is so important because self-publishing, and I know you was probably going to ask this, like, well, what's the biggest difference between traditional and self-publishing, right? And a lot of people like to go traditional route because they don't have to know anything. other than their book.
Right.
The traditional publisher got the editor. They're gonna handle the marketing, which is not always true. Self-publishing is like, I gotta do the marketing, I gotta do the editing, everything falls on me. Where I use AI is to go and help me in all those other areas other than the content that I'm incompetent in, and have it help me get clarity on what to do. So even when I'm hiring an editor, AI is telling me what to look for in an editor to know if the editor is good. I
Mm-hmm.
can go on AI and say, hey, I want you to be an editor for Penguin House, which is a traditional publisher, and tell me the five things that automatically makes them say this book is good or not. And then I take that, and now I now have that as a standard for the editor that I'm looking for.
Right.
And if they can't answer these five questions, you can't be my editor. So now I can hire a traditional publishing editor like person because I use AI to tell me what that person was like,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not using AI to do the actual writing.
That is some great advice. And then, so I feel like that's also helpful for people who are feeling like they have to do this and it costs a fortune. So, what would you say to that person to know that it doesn't cost a fortune or it doesn't have to? And how can they make sure that, especially in this first process, that it doesn't?
Yes, great question. So I would say there's certain roles. Let me just say the roles of the people because I think it'll help people know. You obviously need a book cover designer, a book editor, a book formatter, someone who's going to upload it or help you upload it onto the self-publishing platforms. AI can help with a lot of that. And here's how I save costs.
Mm-hmm.
I submit projects that are 50% done. So when I say book cover, I'll use AI to design a prototype of a book cover and then have a designer go and say, hey, I like this, but can you do it? Now they're not working from scratch.
Right.
If I spend less of your time, you charge me less. So my graphic designer is like, hey, Geo, you could do this. I gave him the cover. I'm like, yo, just make
Mm-hmm.
humanize this. Now he could charge me half price because he's like, you already told me the colors, the font, with the mock-up that AI did. Oh, Geo, stop! I'll give this to you in an hour. Well, if he could do it in an hour, what used to take him 4 days to have to come up with all different concepts. Well, he can't charge me 4 days for the hour. So now I save money there. The editing process, you could use things like Grammarly and stuff to do your first edit. I will still get a professional editor, but that will save you money as well, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if you're clear on what you're writing, you won't have a 50,000 word book to edit, which most people are charging per word. If I already can go with AI and my own thoughts and bring that 50,000 words to 25,000 and then go to the editor, I just cut the cost in half. So this is
Mm-hmm.
where you can go and start to go and see like, oh my gosh, I can save so much money from just doing half of the work. And the cool thing with AI is I don't need to know all the things. I could just tell it I don't know. And it'll tell me, well, here's what you need to know. And then I'm like, okay, let me go and play off that. But you're looking at probably anywhere between 500 to $1,500 additional to based on the different services that you probably need to get it done correctly.
Mm-hmm. That's good. All right, so you've walked us through this whole process of idea to book to launch, and now we're ready to sell this thing. So, how do authors promote their books without sounding too salesy or in general?
I hate that question because, like, what do you mean by salesy? Like, I tell people all the time, like, if I got the cure to cancer, you're gonna hear me tell you,
Right.
you need this, right? And so, do you believe in your book? The people who believe in their book don't see it as salesy; they see it as a service. I'm doing a disservice if I don't tell you about it. So you have to reframe what you're doing. Number one. And number two, once you see that, then you need to go and say, okay, well, who are the people that actually need this? Because there's selling and there's people who are buyers who like to buy, and people like to buy things that they have problems with. So I don't see it as an issue it's not salesy if I'm telling someone who needs something that I have the thing you need.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think that's the problem is we don't do that. We just go and say, yo, buy my book. And you're like, yo, your cousin don't have a weight loss problem. Why do you want them to buy a weight loss book?
You're right.
We do that all the time. You're like, yo,
Yes.
come on, man, buy my book, support me. For what? I don't have that problem. It's fake support. It's not real. Like, I'd rather one real person read the book and say I lost 10 pounds than 20 people buy the book, it's in their house, and no one lost weight. And that's what the purpose of the book was. So I think a lot of us we get into that. "Yeah, I sold 25 copies to my friends and family." Yeah, but the problem, I want to know how many you sold outside of your friends and family, because that's where the real transformation is going to happen. So how do I go ahead and sell it? Sell it. So number one, we have to put the same energy. My mentor, Abu Fofana, I give him credit for this.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you have to put the same amount of energy in your marketing that you put in the creation of the product.
That's
We'll spend
good.
6 months writing the book and then 6 minutes learning how to market it, and then be like, "Well, it ain't do nothing." That's not
Mm-hmm.
fair. That's not that you didn't give it a chance. So you want to think about the before, during, and after of the book itself. What are the breadcrumbs that I need to put out there so people can know it's coming? You do not want your book to be a pop-up shop that no one knew was coming into town. So you want to seed it ahead of time. So if Monique is coming out with a book and she's talking about, the whole idea of black to business, she's gonna want to evangelize the problem first so that people are like, "Yo, I'm wounded. Who's got the band-aid or who knows a doctor?" And now her book is positioned as, "Oh, I'm the doctor. And oh my gosh, I've been waiting for you." But the way you do that is before they needed the doctor, they needed to know that they were wounded. They needed to know that they needed the doctor. So we have to create the environment to evangelize the problem first so that the solution is something already the person's desiring. At that point, I'm not selling anymore. I am doing them a service. Like you want someone when you sell them to say, "Thank you for selling that to me."
Mm-hmm.
And I ain't doing that if I didn't need what you had. So how do I do that? Like sell me the problem, and then the solution will already be sold on the back end of that. And then the ending part of it is you want to start to think, in the beginning, you're trying to sell your book one to one. But ideally, what you want to do is sell your book one to many. And the way you get to one to many is you want to try to sell it to somebody whose yes equals hundreds of books. Not, oh, I sold. Listen, I love the hustle. Everybody want to tell their story about, yo, I sold this book
Right.
out my car today. I sold this book out my car. Like, I was at Trader Joe's. I saw a girl over the phone talking, and I said, "You know what? I got a book about divorce.
Love a
Meet me at the
struggle.
car." Yeah, right. And it's commendable. But especially if we're talking about black people, like, I want us to get to a place where we stop doing just commendable.
Mm-hmm. Talk about it. That's
We
good.
can't close gaps casually. Get you the strongest braces so your teeth could be straight. Like let's get like stop doing like, I mean, what I mean, I don't know. I don't want like no, we gotta get to a place where like, listen, there's organizations that are servicing your ideal audience. They're doing conferences, they're doing big events, and every year they give them the same pen and stress ball as a gift bag. And they could
Mm-hmm.
have given them your book, which is way more valuable than the stress ball and the pencil with the company logo.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean by one to many, where you like, yo, I sold 200 copies of my book, and you may not even need to be there. It's
That's
just
true.
in the goodie bag. Just like everybody who go to Essence Fest and y'all get all the creams, and y'all go to Curl Fest, and you're like, yo, I got this lotion, I got this thing, I got that. Yeah, you want to be in the bag. I want to be in the bag, but you want to sell it to the event organizer and show them, "Oh, snap, y'all got something perfect for your audience." You'll show them
Mm-hmm.
that you care about their financial literacy by putting this financial literacy book in the bag with the curl stuff so that they actually have the money to come buy some more curling hair products. So they
Mm-hmm.
ain't broke. Um, so that's the way I think about it. I think about it from a bigger perspective. It's like you really got to put your business hat on and don't just see yourself as an author. See yourself as a CEO and see yourself as, yeah, this is about partnerships. This is about leverage. And that's when you'll start to treat your book differently. You won't treat it like a Pinto. You'll treat it like a Bentley because you're like, yo, man, this is a luxury. This is not
Yes.
some cheap necessity thing that I had to do.
Mm, that is so good. We gotta make sure that the books are in the bags. I
Yeah.
love that. The books gotta get in the bag. Geo, I mean, all the things. This has been so good. I know people are like, okay, I want Geo to help me with this process because you're that guy. So I want to
Mhm.
talk about the work that you're doing and how you these listeners can continue to have that support from you. So can you talk more about specifically how you are supporting entrepreneurs who are ready to publish their first book and some of the things that you do?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things I do is that clarity call.
Mm-hmm.
So I do a clarity call. I go by a name like a book doula, which is I help
Yes.
assist the birthing of a book. And so the birthing call is typically to say, like, listen, should you even have this kid? Right? Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Because a lot of people, I know we say everyone has a book in them. I just don't think everyone's called to parenthood, and metaphorically speaking.
Right.
And some people don't have kids. It just is what it is, right? So I want to make sure that you're doing something and you're positioned to be able to go and take advantage of this strategy, which I think is what I would like for it to be looked at, is what strategy am I employing? A book is a strategy to help you elevate your business and your brand. So that you can, if you go to First Book Done on Instagram or just Geo Derice, my name, you can DM me and say, Geo, I would love to go and book a birthing call with you. That's the
Mm-hmm.
best I could help, just to make sure that it is a fit, because my program is intense, and it's also I'm very sensitive to who I let in the room, because one bad apple does sometimes ruin the bunch, and I want to make sure that the right people is in there, not the person who's like gonna go and say, "Oh, this is so hard." I want people who like are purpose driven,
Yeah.
who feel like this is a call that they're answering or a call that they've been ignoring, that they now feel like I can't ignore it any longer. Like it's been bothering me. It wakes me up in my sleep. I'm tired of seeing these other people who are less qualified, and not from an ego perspective, less qualified, and they don't have none of your credentials, but they just were bold enough to come out here and say, "Yo, I wrote it." I wrote the
Mm-hmm.
book. I want to help people who are like, you are her. You are him. Why are you being kept like a Victoria's Secret? Like this, like get out there. Like get out there and put yourself out there. So that's how I really support people, is giving them the clarity to know, oh my gosh, I do have an idea out here. And I'm very transparent in telling you, like, on the call, like all the different business moves that I see this thing can do. Because I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what ultimately gets people to grind on the days that they don't feel like doing it, is when they see it's bigger than a book. It's like, oh my gosh, like every person, like there's a client I know, Patrice Shepard, she wrote a book about doing it differently. It was how to go through the breast cancer journey with a different approach. Because everybody wants to come and say, F cancer, F cancer is a B. And I'm like, yo, that energy is, I get whatever it takes to get you over the hump.
Mm-hmm.
But Patrice was like, Gio, I didn't do none of that. I said, yo, I ain't called for you, but since you here, you gonna work for me.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna help me find a version of Patrice I ain't never met before.
Yes.
She gave her cancer an assignment. Do you understand what I'm telling you?
Mm.
She gave her cancer an assignment. Say, "Oh no, you come to take. I'm taking too."
Mm-hmm.
And she built a book about that. But when I first heard her idea, I said, "Patrice, do you know how every oncologist needs to give your book to their
Right.
patients instead of the pamphlet that talks about all the drugs and stuff they got to take? Give them something to lift up their spirit.
Mm-hmm.
That you can have. Your book should be laying in the lobby, not the magazine from the pharmaceutical companies talking about do this and that. Your book should be in the lobby of the oncology center." And she was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh my gosh, Gio, I never saw it that way." And that's what I want people to understand. Like, that's why I love books. And I'm telling you, I hated books, Monique. Like, I don't know if you remember back in the days, Spark Notes. Spark Notes was my middle name. I ain't never read a book. I was like, yo, who got these summaries? Because I ain't reading
Right.
Othello. I'm not really into Kill a Mockingbird. I ain't reading none of this stuff. But once I started to see what one of my mentors told me, he said, Gio, rich people have bigger libraries than their TVs. And he was constantly reading. I said,
Mm-hmm.
yo, I
I like
gotta
that.
read. And Les Brown says the average person reads one nonfiction book a year. The average millionaire reads one nonfiction book a month. I said, less, say less.
Mm-hmm.
Said less, say less. And I
Mm-hmm.
started just reading, and it just does so much for you. And so imagine you being, if knowledge is power, and Nelson Mandela says education is the most powerful weapon we can have. Imagine you being the person that made the gun to help somebody have that power. Like, to give them that weapon to be able to rewrite the life that they could have. That's
Mm.
the opportunity that we have as authors.
That is so. See, now I gotta ask you about because I'm an avid reader. On the other hand,
Okay.
like I
Okay.
was I was
Let's do
feeding the
it.
family with the Pizza Hut deals back in the day, but I had them on my back. But I think that right now people are also thinking in terms of because I'm also on this challenge right now where I'm also reading a book a week. Like I
Okay.
don't know,
Okay.
sometimes I'm in that season. But people might be thinking, okay, are people still reading? And I think that people are also taking a step back and they're getting back as fast as things are moving, people are still going back and they're reading a lot. Cause some people are like, are people still reading books? So what do you say to people that might think that people are not?
I would say, first of all, who you talking to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, because if Warren Buffett is, and I know he got all his money now, but if Warren Buffett talk about he reads 6 hours a day and stuff, yo, he's reading books.
Mm-hmm.
Like this old dude is staying sharp reading, right? And libraries, I see a lot of things closing down. I don't see libraries closing. I
Mm-hmm.
see Barnes and Nobles now about to reinvest in stuff because of BookTok and TikTok blew it
Mm-hmm.
up, right? So you have people coming out with publishing companies. You have movies on Netflix that were once books that are now being retransformed. So don't stop at the book. Like the book is the core, and people are just turning into like transformers and like turning it into plays and movies and consulting things. So when somebody says like, "Yo, people ain't reading books no more," I'm like, who you talking to? Like,
Mm-hmm.
who you surrounding? And get yourself around some different people because this is not that's not true. Like you know, and or the people that you've been hanging around, did they stop growing?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they stop growing, there's no desire to read a book. But you want to, if you're around people who want to grow, they're either doing this, and this is for the budget conscious people. You're either paying someone a lot of money to consult and they download everything they read, or you read it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one way or another. So if you ain't got $20,000 to pay for somebody's hour, you can go and find out what they read and get it on a discount. And then use AI and say, yo, AI, this book over here, The Year of Yes, what is it about? What are the themes? You know me. What am I supposed to know about this book? I will go in there and tell me why this book, sell this book to me. Before I buy a book, I go to ChatGPT and I say, yo, listen, tell me why this book is relevant for me right now. And it will say, Geo, this is what it is based on your situation, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, cool. And give me the main thing. Give me something to apply right now before I even read it. And if
Mm-hmm.
it hits me, then I'm like, oh, I need the whole book because the ChatGPT is giving me the content. I buy the book for the context.
Yeah.
So I got to know how we got here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But reading, oh my gosh, Monique, like, is the hack that no one's talking about. Like, here's what I want everybody to understand, especially the listeners, because we talking to us. When someone's not talking about something, that doesn't mean it's not happening. It just
Mm-hmm.
means they don't want you to know. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? They talking,
Yeah.
but they talking amongst themselves.
Sounds right.
And then and they, you know, if you want to hide something from a black person, just put it in the book. That's what
Mm-hmm.
they say. And then they go and say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, Monique, we just made a 120-inch TV. You sure you don't want to watch your TV shows on that?
Right.
No, I don't want the 120-inch TV. I want to buy the book, read, so I can know how to go and get the value of that TV multiple times over so that out of the overflow, if I feel like it, I'm going to get it. But I'm not going to get it to go and flex on somebody else when the ultimate flex should be, yo, I got a sensor and the 120-inch TV is what my interns are using to go and airplay the projects we're working on. That's a different ballgame.
That's it. You see it. You see.
It's different. It's different.
It's
And
different.
so, yeah, it's different.
Mm, 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 mm. This is so good. So I did, and then finally, I do want to ask about your first book done program and how it works.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a self-paced course that has the whole curriculum. So you could literally watch every module and know how to write your book, self-publish the book without ever talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
However, we do have a group coaching element in there so that every week, every other week, we meet in person on Zoom. and we discuss the different problems, the challenges that we have with the book, strategy, and then people get one-on-one calls with me as well,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can talk through and have the guidance. The whole purpose of First Book Done is to help you write a book confidently and quickly. Because a lot of people
Okay.
come and meet me, gee, I've been trying to write this book for 5 years.
Right.
You could have written the book in a year and lived the life of an author for the other 4 years,
Mm.
versus 5 years still don't have the author part. One of our guys, Roderick Jefferson, he was top dog in his industry. Udemy said he had the number one course on sales enablement. And he came to me and said, Geo, 5 years, I never write the book. In less than a year, he wrote his book, sold 5,000 copies of it.
Wow.
Now, for
Results.
context, yeah, results. Context is this, Monique. The average person doesn't sell more than 250 books in a lifetime.
Mm.
He sold 5,000.
Mm.
Like, like 5,000, where everybody
Wow.
in the industry is like, yo, come on our podcast. People
Right.
buying books in the droves, right? So I just want people to understand, like, if there's ever been a time to write a book, is now. And if you have a decent idea of a book, I promise you, somewhere on the in this world, someone else is writing that book right now too. It's not to scare you that I'm sharing that. It's to let you know that you need to go and get in the game too. You got two choices. You could buy a ticket to see Chris Brown perform, or you can go and watch somebody's stories and watch the concert from there. I would rather you see it in person.
That's good. Mm. So, my final question is, what does it mean to you to be Black in business?
What does it mean? Everything. It means everything, because you said this before, and I think I saw one of your videos. You said we don't have examples,
Mm-hmm.
and the only way to let people know that this is normal is to keep having us grab each other hands in this journey and show that this is not an abnormality.
Mm-hmm.
This is normal. If there's anything we know how to do, is to create. We specialize in turning nothings into somethings.
Yep.
The beauty, though, and I want us to understand, is now we have some things. So we don't have to operate from nothing anymore. We can now go from something to something great. And if we collaborate with each other, if we lean on one another, the standard will be elevated. And when the tide rises, all the ships go up. And I think for me, if I could contribute to that conversation and show that we're not X amount of percent of failing in the first 3 years and we exit left and we now
Mm-hmm.
was working, then it could just get the next person to try and the next person to try. And selfishly, I got a 3-year-old son and a 3-month-old daughter.
Oh.
And I want them, when they get to the point, this is what I tend to get emotional, especially when I speak in person. Um, I need them to know, when they get to the point where they can execute, I need them to know Black and in business is the equivalent of the way you breathe air and you don't think about it. I
Mm-hmm.
need it to be on
Mm-hmm.
that level.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be on that level. I need them to see it no longer is supporting Black business a charity. I need it to be, yo, like, this is normal. Like, for real. Not, hey man, make sure, guys, hook me up, man. Like, come
Yeah.
on, support one of us. Like, no, let's just, it's easy to support greatness. We have the opportunity to create that. Don't settle for the I'm Black.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's no, like we're Black, beautiful, capable. I won't remember, and this question hit me because you remind me of a conversation I had with my friend Samuel Pierre, and he was like, "Yo, Gio, I was in a room with a bunch of white people, and we had reached a place where we reached a valley in the project,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody in that room had no idea how to dig themselves out of a hole, and I've been living in the hole. I've
Mm.
been knowing how to get out of it." And so he told me that thing that I thought that I used to have to hide is actually my superpower. Because if anybody knows how to pivot, it's Black people.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody know how to, like, yo, like, raw ingredients, basics, like like George Washington Carver created over 400 different inventions with a peanut, people.
Come
With a
on.
peanut.
Come
Come
on.
on, people. With a peanut. I wish I
Faith.
need to remind my wife, like, give me my chain. Like, I want the chain with the peanut, to remind me like
Yeah.
this thing, the endless of possibilities. And the thing I
Mm-hmm.
love about him is he didn't do it for cred.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had like probably 2, 3 patents to his name, but he invented so many other things. And so I want us to understand that that's where we come from. And we're going to be the George Washington Carvers to generations to come by choice, though. It's not automatic. We have to decide to be that.
That is a word. Gio, you have preached this whole time. I truly, this is one of my favorite conversations. Oh, but you have one, I want to thank you so much for giving your time, your expertise, and just like planting that seed in our audience in the community. So I thank you so much for what you are doing and giving people the courage to start. And just thank you so much for being here on the Black to Business podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I will be looking out for 300 episodes. I'm not a good party planner, but AI and I could come up with something
We got
to make
make it
sure that we
happen.
celebrate. No, we have
Mm-hmm.
to. We have to. I think we don't despise, and it's not even a small beginning, right? So I don't say
Mm-hmm.
don't despise small beginnings, but I just feel like we don't celebrate enough.
Yeah.
And when we don't celebrate enough, pushments feel like duties.
Mm.
And I'm like, yo, I don't want duties. Yo, oh my gosh, I did that. And so we need to celebrate it with that type of energy in whatever form. I ain't telling you to go and, rent out the Hammerstein
Mm-hmm.
ballroom to go and release your 300th episode. But I do think that if it needs to go beyond uh, Monique with a 300 balloon behind her in her room
Right.
saying, hey, I did it. Like, no,
Right.
let's make it something.
That is true. That's motivating and encouraging because I would just be like, oh, it's 300 episodes. But
I
I
know it. I've
know
seen
it.
it. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
if I see a post with 300 balloons and whatever, and I don't see an event with an Eventbrite that tells me to come somewhere, I'm
Right.
telling you, Monique, I'm gonna be on you.
By the way, we just found out we're neighbors, so it's like Brooklyn and Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Oh
got
my
to make it
gosh. Yeah.
happen. We
Yeah. We gotta make
definitely.
it happen. And
Yeah.
like I said, any way I can support you, let me know. I
Thank
really
you.
firmly believe in storytelling. You giving people an opportunity to share what they do. Um, and when I get on podcasts like this, it helps me to not forget what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you do it so much, it just feels like, oh, like you didn't notice that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thank you for reminding me of the calling I have and the purpose I have, and for me to do it even at a greater scale.
Most certainly. We're here for you. We're supporting you, and you're welcome. And to everyone listening, until next time. Didn't I tell you that that was going to be a masterclass conversation? I definitely think I was encouraged and motivated because I do want to write a book one day. So Geo definitely walked me through all of the steps, and I'm sure he did the same for you. And I also hope that you caught just how powerful it is to use a book as more than words on a page. One of the things that stood out is that writing your first book is not about perfection. It's really about positioning yourself. And I think that as entrepreneurs and Black entrepreneurs, we already know how it feels to be underestimated. And a book can become a way to show your expertise and authority without having to constantly prove it, as Gio said. Three of the key takeaways for me, amongst many, was a book is not just about writing, it's about showing your value and also creating opportunities you don't have to chase. Another thing is, you don't need to be a perfect writer to become an author. Your lived experiences and knowledge are more than enough. And then the last thing was that clarity on who you're writing for and why now is that foundation that will guide your entire process. So if you want to dive deeper into today's conversation and also get access to the resources that were mentioned, head over to blacktobusiness.com/268. And if this episode spoke to you, I really want you to share with another entrepreneur you know who's been sitting on this idea of writing their first book. They really need this conversation too. So send it to them and also share on social media, tag us. We want to hear all the things. And also be sure to leave us a review. With that being said, I thank you so much for being a part of the Black to Business family, for showing up for yourself, for your business. And I can't wait to see you back here next week. As always, same time, same place. But in the meantime, I want you to keep building boldly. And I also want you to keep pushing the culture forward. I'll see you later.